So my introduction, I haven't given you my introduction today. I'm a first timer actually at freeCodeCamp and already giving a talk. How good is that? And I'm going to talk about DevOps. It's not really coding. I won't show much code, but I want to show you something or talk about the culture of DevOps a little bit. And I see many developers in every day, and I don't see many companies that get DevOps right. And it's a very important topic, and I think everybody should know something about it. First, thank you. Thanks, We Accelerate. I think it's really great because we are starting to do more and more meetups here in this place, and I think it's good to have We Accelerate here and giving us the opportunity to enjoy this venue. Just a few links. I'll probably put the slides online, and I like to do things and references first because otherwise nobody will see them anymore afterwards. Introduction, who am I? I'm a software developer for 10 years, so not really a starter. And currently my favorite language is Golang. I do a lot of Perl, and I do TypeScript, mostly because I have to. I'm not too good at it. And I started off as a sysadmin 15 years ago. I thought about it yesterday when I wrote my slides, and was sysadmin at the University of Economics in Austria. And so I had some 20,000 users we had to administer, and you guess probably there wasn't much manual intervention possible doing that, so we had to do a lot of coding. So I switched to becoming a software developer when I actually quit the university. And I'm quite an expert at causing and fixing disasters. Causing is easy, but it doesn't happen as much anymore. And fixing is, okay, it takes some time and experience, but I'm pretty relaxed with the situations I get dumped into. My name is Klaus Ita. Forgot to say that. Usually I have a nick somewhat combined with Koki. Koki is very quickly taken in all the public websites, so look for derivatives of that. That's my Twitter handle. It's easy to remember. And sorry for the layout, because my slides got messed up when I arrived here. They were all written in Markdown, and I should have some plugin that does them to HTML, converts them to HTML, but something happened, so I had to rewrite some macro in my editor to just quickly make HTML from my slides. So for that, they're pretty beautiful. And I'm a total dope at CSS, so please just get used to those slides, and they won't get prettier than that. Some buzzwords, yeah? Not important, just get the feeling. If you have any questions, just ask them, okay? I don't like having all the questions afterwards because maybe you don't remember and you might have.
It's good to have all the questions at the end because we don't have a microphone for the questions, so they won't translate them.
Okay, sorry, no questions. Hate you, no questions. DevOps, the initial setting, how did we find DevOps, or how was it incubated or whatever? There were sysadmins, and there were developers, and there were business requirements and salespeople. And each of those silos actually hated each other. Or I think they still do more or less, but something is happening. So the two sides that were the most opposed sides were the sysadmins and the developers, and I'm both. So it's easy for me to tell you this. It gave me hard times quite often. Sorry for the small fonts, but that's my CSS skills, okay? So there's a conflict in sysadmin and development. As a developer, you always check for the latest library, and you always want to have the latest and greatest tools and try this and try that, some AI or whatever. And as a sysadmin, you usually are being paid for sitting in a back room and just keeping everything stable, and as soon as something moves a little bit, you just bash it down so it doesn't move anymore. And so those two groups are somewhat not in sync. And someone someday just said, well, you know, we could work together. And at the time I was at that university I told you about, there was, I think that there was the seed of DevOps coming up. There were configuration engines starting to get bigger and bigger, and it was the very early, I think Puppet wasn't, no, Puppet was, there was no Puppet at that time, but there was CF Engine at the time, and people started scripting infrastructure, and people stopped actually doing things manually. The bad thing is I still see a lot of people manually intervening with their computers. And what are the goals of DevOps? We just want to keep a constant flow through the technology value stream. So what does that mean? It's in the old days, you always had infrastructure and you had development, and those two didn't work well together. And especially in bigger companies, there was software development, and software development cycles were months or years long. And then there was an integration phase, and that handed over the software project to the ops people, which are system administrators, and they tried to figure out how to actually get a project working and running and stably running. And that pushed the launch date of every product further and further away. And I still see that in many startup companies now also. I mean, people are developing, and then there's release day, and they find out, oh, we never thought about infrastructure where we actually want to run the project, but it works on my machine. I see that quite a lot. And it's a lot about culture to actually put together all the team and make everybody participate from the team. So it's not only developers or sysadmins, but it's also the marketing people, it's the icon designers, it's the, I don't know, CSS people. Are those developers? Yeah, let's say. And it's the salespeople that mustn't sell things that that can't be developed, or everybody needs to be in a team, and this is a bit what DevOps is about. Also, the thing I explained before, day 0, day 1, day 2, day n, the product has to run all the time. And yeah, basically work together in all phases of its life. DevOps is about culture, automation, lean, measurement, and sharing. These are the key points of DevOps. Let's go through them. Culture is something I see a lot in technology. Is there's that boss, and the boss shouts at everybody. And this leads to results in short term, but people leave, and people join companies, people leave managers, and it doesn't really lead to a good team and to a good work experience. And what we really want to impose is get the blame-free learning experiment and experimentation framework. So we all make mistakes. We make a lot of mistakes probably, but the only difference between a well-established developer or a DevOps guy or whatever and a beginner is the number of mistakes they have made. That's the only difference. And yeah, this means we really, we do have volatile environments. So anything we do changes all the time. And because we do experiment, everybody is allowed to experiment. Everybody is allowed to bring in new technologies. We change everything all the time. But still, we manage to reduce risk. I'll explain that later, how we manage to work that out. We try to have no more silos, and which is actually fun because we start actually talking to people. There were some people who came here to talk to others. This is true for every company. The developers can start talking to marketing people, and the sysadmins can start talking to salespeople. And actually, this is an interesting thought that should be a baseline in every company anyway. We all share the responsibility for our finished product. We all earn the money that the company earns, and we all have to bring in money, and we're all important for the company. So, of course, we share responsibility, and it's important that everybody knows that everybody is responsible for having the product out. And autonomous teams is just, because we share responsibility, we are able to actually decide things on our own. We don't need to ask the boss all the time. Automation, there's I think on the first slide, I had those thank you things. There's a book, it's a long book and it gets a bit boring after a while, but it's the SRE book by Google. I don't know if you know, Site Reliability Engineering. And, but they have amazing chapters that are really good. And one of them is about automation and toil, especially. And I like the term. It was created in Google, I think. And it means that anything you do and anything you do more than once that can be automated must be automated. And this is one of the really basic thoughts in DevOps. So whatever can be triggered by whatever metrics needs to be automatically solved. Because otherwise, what you might see, you have many, many busy people that do the same thing over and over again. And this is the worst that can happen. Okay. So anything that's manual, repetitive, and automatable, tactically important for a company, has no value at all. That's very important. You know, the web server that needs to be restarted because whatever, we have bad code and we have mem leaks or whatever, and the sysadmin goes to and logs into that web server, SSH is in there, and just types in nginx restart. That's a waste of time. You can automate that. Yeah, you can just watch memory and just kill that thingy, and it'll have the same effect. It's not a solution. It's not a long-term solution, but it will take away work from the sysadmin, who can then develop a better solution and probably reduce mem leaks. Okay, and doing this, removing toil all the time, is a huge resource saver. And imagine, I mean, at Google, the SRE teams, they are not allowed, they're not even allowed to do more than 50% toil in their work time, which is, I mean, think of your sysadmins, what they do all the time. Least of them are actually living that. Well, there's that term, lean, eliminate waste, amplify learning, decide as late as possible, deliver as fast as possible. That's all I mean, I hope you live by those standards now. Empower the team, build integrity, and see the whole is, I think, the only thing I really have to explain more. Even as a developer or a sysadmin or whatever person, or in whatever topic you are in, just see what the goal is and always know what is my company doing and what are we actually trying to get out to our customer. It's very important to see that all the time. Is what I am doing currently important for my customers? Does it actually give value to the customer? Instrumentation, anything, and this gets forgotten by most. I don't know how many startups are here. I just saw some. Everybody who's making new products, and many people have started new products, and they forget about measurements and instrumentation. And this should be one of the core built-ins in every product that you create. If you don't instrument everything you do, and if you don't have graphs for every whatever information you generate in your software, you will fail at DevOps. Because if you can't measure things and if you can't analyze things, you can't react. And of course, a human being can react. And I have a very good feeling about, I don't know, I think the system is in a bad state and I have to do something. But if you don't have numbers to prove and if you don't have numbers to analyze, you can't automate these things. Here you see a graph from, this is something actually a marketing guy created, yeah, these graphs. We are generating all the information, and the marketing guy just clicks together it's some health whatever tool, and they can just see, okay, how do the numbers perform? Did we, I don't know, we had some release and numbers went down, and then other releases, and we tried to get the release, the numbers up again, and just to show you that anything we do and whatever this is a registration verification profile setup. So people that try to register, verify their profile, and then or change data in their profile, which is important in this project. We just measure what they do. So we have I call it the DevOps Pretzel. And if you go to DevOps meetups nowadays, you see this pretzel all the time. And I just wanted to show it to you. It's a never-ending cycle of, okay, you release a product, you configure it, you monitoring, okay? You plan for the next release, you build, you create, you check the numbers again from monitoring, you package it, release it, and so on and so on and on. And that cycle goes forever. And now the testimony. I'm a developer, okay? DevOps is something that should actually impact the whole company. And I don't know much about how marketing people feel about it. I mean, I know that they work in my team together with me, and we have a good relationship, but I don't know what they feel about the whole DevOps movement. So what I can only talk about is how software development goes, software operations, and how we execute it. Okay, I don't really care about the finance department so much. Okay, how do we live it? We use Git or whatever revision controls system you're using. Do whatever you want, but I mean, I think everybody uses Git. If you're not, and I've seen that recently in the last 2 years, actually, companies not using it, start using it. Use some integration service. Everybody knows what an integration service is. It's an automated tool that takes your product and puts it into production. It must be automated. Don't have someone say, okay, should we release today? Maybe you talk about releasing today, but it must be automated. The whole integration and releasing process must be such a non-op that you do it all the time. You do it all the time. And use build tools. So however you try to make your final product, I don't know, if you do web design, you probably have some Grunt or Webpack or whatever running. Automate that. You can have it running, but if it needs any parameters, script that, at least. We have build tools built into the Git chain, so if I git push, then the product gets built and released. I would recommend, I mean, this is not an official statement, I'd recommend use a cloud. It doesn't matter if you have your own cloud, if you have, I don't know, a service center and 2,000 servers and just run your cloud, fine, that's fine. But the concept of cloud must be implemented. So probably if you're in smaller companies, use, I don't know, AWS, Google, or something like that. use provisioning tools for everything. You don't start naming servers or anything like that. I'll come to that later. And see your hardware as software, okay? So don't name your hardware. Don't know your hardware anymore. Abstract it, make it software, okay? Continuous integration. There's a great article by Martin Fowler about it. Martin Fowler, you all know Martin Fowler. He's, I don't know, an icon in IT, I'd say. He writes articles, all of them are like 15 pages long and quite a read, but always well thought of and well designed. And he's, look him up, Martin Fowler, and read all his articles. It'll take you a month or so, but it's worth it. And he says about continuous integration, what's the base point? Check out mainline. Mainline is the master branch. Yeah. Develop a quick feature. And I mean, we even have tools for if we have an issue or ticket that we want to work on that actually creates a branch named like that ticket. So everybody who works on that same issue creates the same branch name so we can share and interact with that. Build, test, and merge, fully automated very often, and always know your code is running. And failing or broken builds don't make it to mainline. So we have all that automated, except for the coding part. We need to do that, unfortunately. And we push into the repo. Everything gets built. I don't need to type the build and merge and whatever. It all gets done by tooling. And after a minute, I get an email if the build fails, or a pop-up on my screen, actually. And otherwise, my changes get merged into mainline and are in the staging environment. Continuous delivery, deliver all the time. So what I've done before, I coded, I merged it into mainline, and now it's about delivery. And every successful merge, you see, gets into that staging environment, so that we have a web page that has a total clone of everything we do. We can have multiple clones also, but staging is the most important preview. It runs against a real clone of the actual data. And we have buttons for creative review, promote to production, or rollback. So there's no manual intervention with anything we do, actually. So and these buttons can be pressed by a marketing guy. And this is very important, that it's not always the developers that decide, okay, we can go online. No, if all the tests pass, and if the product looks fine to the marketing guys, they are the ones that wanted the feature. Of course, they press the button to actually release that feature. If they don't press it, I press it. Yeah, anybody can. And so this is standard deployments. Each of those, what's that, vertical lines, are a deployment. And that's standard for us, that we actually deploy all the time. And then you watch, I don't know, something happens or doesn't happen. And so we always mark everything. That's the instrumentation part I talked about. You need to know, okay, we had this code running, and it had this impact on our customers. So maybe we need to change something, or maybe that was a good change, and let's party. By deploying so often, we keep things unstable, but we reduce risk. If we deploy only once a month, or only once a year, or a half year, then the deployment gets really tough. And now we just deploy, and everything is fine. Unless you do disaster deployment like I did last week, where I blacked out for half an hour, I think, the whole product. But that was very special. Didn't happen for years, actually. Because usually we have that. But this is also the the experience. Nobody shouted at me when that happened. We just found out, okay, what was the problem and how do we fix it and how do we prevent it from happening the next time? It was my mistake, I did something wrong, but how can we prevent it in the future? And so what we want is that we actually have the queue and it's running, the pipeline is running, and it says, okay, sorry, I can't continue, something happened. I don't know what happened here, but whatever. And we are safe. We have way too many features to test them all. We've been working on this product, I think for 9 years or something, and it's just too many features. And sometimes we have long workflows, so we gather information and we export it to different clients and we improve the data, we recycle it, and there's so many workflows. They take a while and they need to take a while, and we have different formats. You just can't test everything. But we do have alerts for every core business case. So whatever happens, we know. So we see, we act, we know. Okay, and if we see we have a problem and we don't have measurements yet, we act. So we introduce measurements, instrumentation for that problem, and in the future we have something automated for it. And we have many alerts that shouldn't trigger, okay? And we always know exactly when which version of code was online. So we have our stats, and we can always say, okay, at that point in time, we had this revision running. Very important. I see that a lot that people don't know. They just go to servers, do git pull, so that they think they're advanced because they use Git. They do git pull, server restart, have no idea what happens. And yeah, we have much better things to do than testing our code manually. So I don't want to browse our website all the time. And then we have products that I don't even want to touch too much because I don't know, I just don't like them. And it's good to have that automated. And we need to detect errors as fast as possible and stop them from passing along the value stream. So even when I blacked out last week, I knew it within seconds. And that's very important, and you know, so you can act quickly and fix things. This is still Markdown syntax. Be very disciplined. So if you want to do that, you and the whole team must be very disciplined. We create strict 12-factor apps. We don't ever do quick fixes. Even if I know, okay, I could just log in and change that line in Nginx and fix some, I don't know, proxy path or something, and it would work. We don't do it. We create the fix, we patch, we commit, we release. And that always has to be this way. And if a broken commit exists in your tool chain, that's the most important bug to fix. Because as soon as you let your tools down and you start to work around the tools and manually install things, the whole system breaks. Yeah? Always use tools. And if you can do it, you can script it. That's my philosophy. Whatever you do, it is scriptable. It might be hard. It might be hard the first time. It gets easier and easier. Okay. And very important is learn all the time. I read books all the time. I read articles all the time. There's not a single day I don't learn something. And I could say that for my whole team. Nobody ever lays down and says, okay, I know enough. Just doesn't happen. And communicate a lot. I mean, it's easy for us. We're less than a 2-pizza team. I eat 1 pizza. And no, we're more than that. But it's easy for us to communicate. Otherwise, we are also not endangered to have the silos because we are very close together. We're still in one office, which is in one floor. So it's not a big, I don't know, like Unica or whatever over there. We have huge buildings and it's hard to communicate. So for us, really, communication is easy. I want to talk about failures, things that did not work. I've worked at multiple companies, with multiple companies. I've seen things fail. I failed with my team. I saw teams fail after investing hundreds of thousands of euros into DevOps. What doesn't work? Being half committed doesn't work. Okay, either you do it or you don't do it. Halfway costs a lot of money. Ansible or script deployments on pet servers. Everybody knows what a pet server is. It's one where you know the host name. It's a server you like, and never have a server you like. Okay. Wiki playbooks for deployments and upgrades. I see that a lot. People think they're so smart because they have everything written down in Wiki, and they copy and paste every line and then create a new project. Oh, we have got a new customer, and creating a new customer takes a quarter of an hour, I don't know, 3 hours, I don't know. Copy, paste all the lines from Wiki. I mean, just script that, or make a microservice that creates a new customer. Strongly wired services doesn't never work. I mean, we've fully migrated to microservice environments, and initially the first migration started with service A knows exactly about service B, and we can talk to each other. No, it's like pet servers. It's just pet software. What didn't work? Using KVMs in or VMware in our deployments. So for the software we were trying to deploy, those virtualization technologies work very well to abstract hardware, but they don't work well to abstract software. For infrastructure, yes, but not for the deployed product itself. Delegating core services. Sorry to say, whoever are outsourcing companies here, I don't know, DNS hosting, all these core things that are needed for your product, you must do all that in-house. Outsourcing software development didn't work for us. Nobody can outsource a philosophy, and it's the main thing you do if you do software, and every company does software nowadays, and every company mainly does IT nowadays, different aspects of IT, but everybody needs IT. You can't outsource it. Outsourcing sysadmins, very bad idea. Taking responsibility away from people, we tried that with people who didn't want to DevOps and who didn't want to work in that strategy. So we said, okay, you just fix that little issue and then you commit it and we cover for the rest. Doesn't work. You unfortunately have to get rid of those people. Multiple Git repositories didn't work for us. We have a lot of, I don't know, that company has 700 megs of source code, and we have it all in one repo, and it's fine with Git. Nobody cares. And if you have multiple repositories, you have to work with Git submodules and stuff. It doesn't work so well. Just use one monorepo, and we do that. Everything you do must always be code, and all truth lies in the repo. So if I die today, it doesn't really matter, because, I mean, well, I wouldn't care. and otherwise, anything I've done, even my talk, which I just rewrote, is in Git. Anything not committed has no value at all, because it can just be gone or broken or what, I don't know. You can't find it anymore. Especially in case you run into a bus. Or you get hacked, because we got that hacked server I want to see. Or you want to change your infrastructure, which is the most important point. I mean, that happens frequently, every few years. You want to switch from one provider to another one. If you don't have the main or anything, actually everything scripted, you won't be able to make that move. If you have to manually set up infrastructure, it won't work. And thanks very much. Questions?